We got a chance to shoot episode 2 of Crime Scenes at Hollywood legend Elliott Salter's pawn shop. Elliott himself is an icon. I mean, many stars and celebrities have come here. In fact, we got a chance to use an actual Oscar in episode 2. This is the Oscar that won Best Picture, and I can't say which one, but Elliott was featured in Daily Variety regarding that very issue. Have you ever done movies and TV shows before?
Yeah, I've been in, I got to think about the movies. TV shows, yeah, Jigsaw John. It's an old one with Jack Klugman. Jack Klugman, really nice guy in the 80s, and he said, you got to do a reality show on, this is before reality, he says, you got to do a TV show on this place. It's really interesting. And after they shot the Jigsaw John show, he came back a few times. He came back a couple of times a week for a month, and he was always impressed.
Just to talk or to pawn stuff?
Talk. No, he never needed money. He always had money. But just to talk and watch the people.
What became of the idea for a reality show?
They wanted a lot of really more dramatic, over-the-top bullshit. And we couldn't convince them that what we do here and the people we meet and the things that are here are just so interesting on the natch. They never went for it.
What's some of your funniest pawn shop moments that you can remember?
Oh my God, I've given guys loans. Okay, I won't say how long ago this was, but we used to loan money on hearing aids that were like a portable radio that fit in your pocket and then the earpiece went in your ear. Guys used to get loans on those, glass eyes. I had a guy who would take his eye out and put it in a case and get a loan on his eye.
Any famous names come or call here?
Oh, only when they were making a movie. You know, Stallone was in here. They were scouting a location for a movie. They didn't like us. Shirley MacLaine came in here. She had met a woman who owned a jewelry store when she made a Japanese flower drum song or something, and they became very close. And Rita used to get loans here, and then she kind of lost her mind. She'd come in, she had a stroke, I guess, and we'd talk to her, and she, you know, very hard on it, and she'd slap us. Rita used to hit Ed and I because we couldn't understand her.
She would slap you?
And she'd slap us. Sometimes she'd slap our hands. Sometimes she'd slap us in the face. But, you know, I mean, you know, it wasn't out of malice. It was just her frustration.
You talked about the weirdest things you pawned. What are some of the weirdest things you've turned down?
A lion.
Someone tried to pawn a lion.
Sell me a lion. A live African lion.
Fully grown.
Old, broken tooth, old.
He brought it in?
Lion. No. He came in one day and looked and says, oh, you want another lion? And I go, yeah. He says, oh, I got one. I'll bring it in. Okay, cool. You know, I figure it'll be a taxidermy. And the guy says, I got the lion in the car. You want to come out and look? I said, sure. So I go outside and I'm walking and I'm smelling something that was, well, it's an unbathed lion. And there in the back seat of his station wagon, this lion, and was like his tongue was hanging out and he was panting. I said, I don't even remember what I told him. I says, you got to find a reserve to put the, you can't.
Like Shambhala with Tippy Hedges.
Yeah.
What's the most money you've ever loaned on something?
Probably about $75,000 on a bracelet. Probably the most I've loaned on a guitar might be $15,000.
Do people default on those very expensive loans?
On most loans, basically the way I figure it out, over 90% of the people who get a loan come back for it, which is very low. And it doesn't matter if they borrow a little bit of money on an expensive item, or I make a mistake and loan them too much money on a thing I made a mistake on. They'll pick one up or not pick it up. It's got nothing to do with really what it is or how much the loan is.
Ed was a good friend of mine who worked here, and I met him here. I loved Ed, and Ed passed away recently. What's your relationship with Ed? How did you guys meet?
Ed used to buy watches from me, and I think Ed would come in and buy watches. I think he was working in Orange County, and he lived in Hollywood, and he'd come in, and Christine used to work here, and she said, I think Ed would be good here to work here. So we'll talk to him. And Ed worked here probably around 25 years. I didn't realize it was that long, but he was...
And he was well loved by everyone.
Everyone.
Every time I come in, because I'm a comedian, Ed would go, "What dog shows they got you working at now?"
Yeah, he always. There was one guy, Tony Gleaton, was a photographer, and Tony was a very big guy. He was in the Marine Corps in Vietnam, and every time Tony would walk in, Ed would say, "Oh, meat eating Gleaton." And Tony, they would be at each other all the time. And they really had an affinity for each other. They
eating Gleaton.
Meat eating Gleaton.
And Ed passed away. He had what did he have?
He had a heart attack.
He had a heart attack.
He had multiple myeloma.
That's what I remember.
Which is blood bone cancer, and the doctors gave him 5 years to live. And he had Kaiser Health Insurance, and Kaiser made a deal with City of Hope that they would cover the expenses, and Ed got treatment at the City of Hope. He had radiation. He had bone marrow transplants. He had chemo, different things. And sometimes he'd be in the hospital for a few weeks when they do a bone marrow thing. Or he'd call me up. He says, "Elliott, I can't come in today." I go, "Okay. But you got to promise me something." And he'd come, "What?" I said, "You got to play the guitar for 15 minutes. Okay. So he'd come in the next day, and he says, "You son of a bitch." So what? He says, "Well, I was real tired, and I couldn't sleep, and I was restless, and I started playing the guitar, and I played the guitar for an hour, and then I got like 4 hours of great sleep.
Wow.
I conned him into doing something he wouldn't do for himself, and it's very restful and therapeutic."
How do you know Stevie Mack? Drunk out of my mind on Christmas Eve 1982, I busted open his window with a shovel to steal a video camcorder because I wanted to be a filmmaker. Talk about a lot of this in my one-man show, Diary of a Crackhead, which was the pick of the week in the LA Weekly. But this is one of the stories I didn't talk about. Let's hear Elliott's version of it.
Well, Stevie Mack, I don't remember the initial encounter, but I do remember a guy coming into my store 8 or 10 years after the fact. And he comes in, he says, "Hi, do you know me?" And I go, "No, I don't remember." He says, "Well, I'm here to start making payments on a camera I stole from you 5 years ago." I go, "Really?" He goes, "Well, do you remember?" And then I remembered what happened, how a guy got skinny through the gate, broke the front window, broke the camera, and stole the camera. And there was a trail of blood from where he cut his finger on the window, around the corner, into a laundry room, and that's where he was sleeping when the police found him. And since then, we've been tight.